Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Crook County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Wednesday, November the 5th, 2025. It's 9:00 a.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer from Chris Cookson with the community. Pledge of Allegiance and prayer, please. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Let's bow together. Our Father in heaven, this morning we are mindful that you are the sovereign King of the universe, that everything is in your control. And Lord, we remember too that you've created all things in 6 days. It is magnificent. And so to you, oh God, we bow and we humbly thank you for the blessings you've given us. We thank you for Crook County and Prineville. We thank you for these good commissioners and all the good people of Crook County who are gathered here today. And we ask, Father, that you would impart wisdom to them. We thank you for the Savior whom you sent. We thank you that he promises to save all who come to him, repentant of their sin and by faith embracing him. We thank you, Lord, for this day. We pray that you would send blessings from heaven unto us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We will start off with, I'm going to make a note to the agenda. Number 6, request for tipping fee waiver has been moved to another date, so that won't be heard today. So next we will move to public comment. I have a request for Mary Byers to comment. Are there others? Mary, please step forward.
You'll just have to turn on your mic. You just look at that.
You need a chair to sit down.
Can I move this?
You can just take it off the whole stand. Yeah. Pick it up or whatever feels better, I guess.
Okay, can you hear me? Is that
No, you got to put it right back. Yeah.
hello? I feel like I'm gonna do a song.
If you
I'm Mary Byer, and I am part owner with my husband of Wine Down Ranch. I'm just here for a very quick minute. I just have a comment from last week's meeting at the end about the SNAP program. And I understand now, I was coming up for a whole different thing, but I realized that thanks to Susan for the comments and the rules, explaining the rules of SNAP, I wasn't quite aware of that. But having a conversation with my daughter who works in the mental health industry, and many of her trauma clients are affected by the SNAP program. We had a very good conversation. So I just wanted to make an awareness that, yes, there are new rules to go abide by, but there's a lot of citizens in our community, and I meet with them, and she also works with them. They're going to fall through the cracks of those rules, and they aren't going to get the help they need, and they aren't going to have the money for food to feed their families. And so I just want to make that awareness that as a community, we are a wonderful community, very generous, very giving, and very compassionate, that we all are aware that we need to pull together. I don't know what that looks like, but we need to be aware that there is a huge need out there and it's not going to be filled. And so I appreciate what the high school or the school district is doing by providing extra food for the kids to take home every day. And they're asking for donations for that. And also, I also volunteer. I'm a long time volunteer over at Craig's Compassionate Cafe. And I'm on my way over there right now. So this worked perfectly to cook and prep food. We do lunches every day over there from Monday through Friday, 11:30, 12:30, open to the entire community of Crook County and beyond. So I thought, well, I'll just make a challenge. And I thought, no, I don't want to make it a challenge, because to me, a challenge is something difficult and hard to attain. So I'm making an invitation for you up here and for everybody to come by, have lunch. They're pretty good. People like my cooking. So and it's good lunches, and just sit, because where there used to be 30 people coming in there, that was a huge number. We were up to 50. Plus, they're trying to also feed 20 over at the men's shelter at the night. So there's a huge need. So I'm just putting the invitation out there for everyone to please maybe come stop by, not today necessarily, but sometime, and sit with those people and talk to them. They all have a story, and it's important to hear they are all part of our community. And right now they really need our help. So that's all.
Thank you very much for the good work you do and coming here today and bringing that forth. And it is a serious thing, and it's sad in America that anyone would go hungry. And I wish we didn't have to face this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can vouch, I've been there for lunch and had our cooking there and other places, and it is very good.
Great. So stop by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Anyone online? You would like, you have a hand up, okay?
Hi there. My name is Aaliyah Fern. Mary was my mom. We did have that conversation this week. But I wanted to just follow up because I tuned into last week's meeting and I was able to hear some of the discussion, both about the plans for the best care housing for SPMI or severe and persistent mental illness clients, as well as some of Commissioner Henrich's comments about the updates on some of the snaps. So I just wanted to follow up with some of my own perspective as well, that I am a mental health professional. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the community. And I want to just really show, speak my gratitude for the leadership at Best Care for the work that they're doing, as well as to value a little bit more the way that they are trying to help people understand, especially I think the Board of Commissioners, what people with SPMI are really up against and who those people are. I work with a lot of clients who have severe and persistent mental illness, and I found it pretty upsetting that what seems to be the assumptions about how people are with mental illness, what they're prone to be doing, that there's, going to be loitering and problematic behavior, drug abuse. Those are all very stereotypic ideas of what people are dealing with when they have severe and persistent mental illness. And I will just attest from my own background and my work as a professional in this community that it's a mischaracterization. I think the Best Care staff really spoke very well to that. And I just want to add my voice of support that, there are people that I work with who they can't necessarily afford housing. They can't necessarily afford food. They can't necessarily be registered on disability because that system is so broken and there's so many barriers that, we assume a certain level of privilege that people are taken care of to a degree. But I'm working with people who have a very, very hard time. It takes years for them to get financial aid or support. And in the meantime, they're falling through the cracks and wondering if life is even worth living. That's very disheartening to me that there's potentially more barriers going to be in front of any of these people that are community members. And I would like to just voice my support for Best Care and the work that they're doing for creating more housing, more low-income housing in this community that we can help people to survive. I want to transition also and just make an extra comment on the SNAP crisis. It really is what it is. And I thank Commissioner Henrich for her comments and just bringing some of that awareness last week. And to just say that I'm also involved in the farmers market here in this community. We have been working really hard to try to become SNAP eligible so that we can take SNAP dollars at the farmers market and help people afford the best quality of food that is available in this community. And during that research, what we found is that 30% of our community is on SNAP. And I know that people like to point fingers and question whether that's deserving or not, but the reality is that there is a lot of need. Just to back up Mary's comments, and it's not insignificant. We're talking about a third of the county is dependent on this type of support. So I would like to just implore the commissioners, as well as all levels of government and local leadership, to please start having conversations, start finding where we can create solutions here and how we can help people actually avoid, deeper pitfalls and becoming homeless, and when if they don't have to. So please, let's just band together. Let's look to the leadership. Let's support our leadership, and leadership, please help support us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Hands raised? Seeing, hearing none, we'll move on. Consent agenda.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Herman, aye.
Carney, aye. So moved. So proclamation of Operation Greenlight. Susan.
Well, I'm not quite sure how I got to be the presenter. I think Katie would be a much better presenter than I am, so I'm going to pass my hat over to Katie.
Morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Katie Vaughn. I'm the Health and Human Services Director for the county, which means I also have the privilege of supporting our Veteran Services Office. Beginning yesterday and through, I believe it's the 11th.
I think for the next,
So then
I think after
a
that.
full week, we are, I didn't hear the familiar echo. We are, as a county, hopefully proclaiming today. I know our office has green lights up to celebrate Operation Greenlight and recognize, as a way of recognizing the service of our veterans in Crook County and show appreciation, and also to promote the services that are available to them. Have a few quick statistics from our office beginning in July 1 through the end of October. That's our first quarter. Our office, the technology is now cooperating. Our office welcomed 108 new veterans that had not been engaged in services before. So in 3 months, we engaged 108 new veterans in our community. Our team filed 401 claims. We had 353 office visits. And we had a $400,000 increase in back pay to our veterans based on the claims that we've been filing. We have another $200,000 in back pay pending for one of our veterans. We had 91 new awards in that quarter, totaling $2,229,912 in new payments annually for our county veterans. And I want to express sincere gratitude for the work that our team puts in. Mona and Tom and me are booked out all day, every day. And it's not just the appointments, it's the research and the time it takes to navigate these systems on behalf of our veterans. They spend time on the phone with the VA, hours at a time, but they also have really good connections in that space. And so they're able to effectively advocate for our veterans. Really in a more, it takes a while sometimes, but they are very good at what they do, and they are able to do this work really in the short amount of time as possible within our systems. So I don't know, is there an act, there's a written proclamation, and so my request would be that we could read that and adopt it if you would like.
Susan, would you like to read that?
Oh, okay, so this is my part. I can only go to the top there. So supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans. Whereas the residents of Crook County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selfishly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the contribution and sacrifices of those who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas the Crook County seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities in the near future, annually, and whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future, and whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, and whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk of suicide during their first year after military service, and whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans. And whereas Crook County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel, believes specific recognition should be granted. Now therefore, be it resolved with designation as Greenlight for Veterans County, Crook County hereby declares November 4th through Veterans Day, November 11th, 2025, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of those transitioning from active service. Therefore, be it further resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Crook County will illuminate the historic courthouse and the Veterans Services Office in green to show visible support for veterans and participate in the nationwide Operation Greenlight initiative, and resolve that Crook County encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying green lights in a window of their place of business or residence from November 4th through the 11th, 2025. This proclamation is dated November 5th, 2025. Motion.
I move that we accept the proclamation.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and second to approve the proclamation. All in favor, any discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor, say aye.
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye. So moved.
And thank you, and will you tell Tom and Mona's particularly, thank you for all the good work that they have done. And I'm very glad how well our Veteran Service Office is doing in our county. Thank you.
And yesterday after wrestling, Landon noticed the courthouse lit up green and she was very excited about it. So it really is a good lesson.
And we might want to make a special call out to facilities because
Yeah.
not only are we doing the clock tower, but they had the cherry picker out there. And I'm assuming I just got back from New York this morning. There was going to be a ribbon of light around the rim. And is that been
on
done?
the eaves of the courthouse.
Perfect. So we are really lit up this year and we need to get a picture
We will.
and send it to NACO so the Crook County can be on the books this year. Perfect.
Get it tonight.
Thank you, Katie. Hey. Signature approval for 2025-26 VOC CFA grant application. Carrie.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can always hear you, Carrie.
I know, I'm not quiet. Carrie Hawthorne, Crook County District Attorney. Before I start with my agenda item request, I do also want to thank our Veteran Services officers. Tom has been very instrumental in some challenging cases of helping get things resolved and get services in for veterans. And so I've told Katie this, but I really enjoy working with their office. Agenda item request. I have good news today. I was here a month or so ago-ish with bad news about our VOCA funding. The legislature has approved and we have gotten through the full VOCA grant. We had actually budgeted 80% of what we received because we were expecting a reduction in funds. I'm pleased to let you know that the funding amounts awarded are actually the same we've received previously. So those VOCA funding, the VOCA funding award funds are to victim advocates for our office, the majority of their salaries. So that grant has been finalized and is just ready for a signature. I would propose, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe how we've done it before is that the commissioners approve Will to sign it as representative of the commissioners.
And so you said in here you had 99% and 93%. Was that what you expected, or so it was totally flush across the board there?
Yes. So historically, we've gotten just under the $96,000 for VOCA funding. I'd actually budgeted. I'd have to ask Christina or Jamie in the back, but like 70,000. I budgeted this year less because we've been told to expect 80% of what we've historically received, and then we got the really terrible news that it was going to be like 20%. And that has been, I think, because of the public concern expressed and a lot of voices putting forward the impact on victims and particularly children and vulnerable victims, that this needed to be prioritized. And so we were very pleasantly surprised to get the standard amount, the same we've gotten every year.
Good for you. And I wasn't able to attend, but I want to do a shout out for Julie Martinez, who retired after 16 years, who did a very, very good job. And a welcome to our new Julie, whose name happens to be Kate. I'm really glad to see you here today, Kate. And I'm very glad that this funding came through, and I'm very happy to have Will sign this.
Okay.
Do we need I don't think do we need a motion? Do we not?
Probably.
Yes.
I'll
I'll make-
motion to have Will sign the VOCA CFA grant application.
And I will second that motion.
Motion made second to authorize Will to sign the VOCA CFA grant. All in favor? Any discussion?
Well, the must would be out of court. Maybe we need to add out of court to the motion. Is that a
Change
big
it to
thing?
out of court.
Okay. And I accept the amended motion, and then now we can go forward.
Further discussion?
No further discussion. I'll be quiet, I promise.
All in favor, say aye.
Irma, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Marty, aye. So moved.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Carrie.
Thank you very much, Carrie.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're not a very good prophet.
Me too.
Katie, are you up again?
Could put all three of you on there, right?
Yeah.
Running again. I have my public health hat on now, and as a request from you all, I have with us Liz Hunt and Jamie Coleman from Oregon Health Authority to share out about the Crook County Public Health Triennial Review process that occurred in 2020. I think we finalized in 2024. It was a long process due to a little thing called COVID. So they have a presentation for you all, and I think we'll have time for questions as well, and I will turn it over to Liz.
Great, thank you so much, Katie, and thank you so much, commissioners, for having us this morning. So, as Katie said, my name is Liz Hunt. I'm the acting local and tribal public health manager at OHA, and I've got with me Jamie Coleman here, who's one of our public health systems consultants. She works closely with Crook County on all things public health as it relates to the state and the local relationship. Go ahead. Slide. We wanted to start off by saying thank you. So one, thank you for your time today. Thank you for having us here, but also thank you for your support of public health, for everything your county has done. I mean, it's really exemplary work, and we're going to be going through that now. And also a huge thank you to Katie and the team at Crook County Public Health Department for working through this triennial review process. It is a process. It's a process everywhere, every 3 years, and we'll get into that. But it's a lot of hard work to move through it, but it's really important. So thank you. Go to the next slide. So just an overview of what we have ready for you today. We're going to go through the responsibilities of local public health authorities, responsibilities of governing bodies, which you all are, the local public health administrator role, then the different agreements that we have with you all for public health services, environmental health services, and then we'll share the results and the information from the triennial review, which you've already received and gotten, but kind of just some highlights and strengths and opportunities. And then a little bit of info about the modernization work being done here, and then we'll have time for questions. So, thanks. All right, so starting with what is a local public health authority. There's 3 different types of local public health authorities here in Oregon. We have those listed on the slide. A local public health authority can be defined in these ways. One is a county government, which is what we have here. Another is a health district that can be formed by 2 different counties next to each other, 2 or more. And then finally, there's an intergovernmental entity. And we do have one of those in Oregon. That's Wasco and Sherman County. They formed North Central Public Health District and created their own intergovernmental entity to deliver public health services to those counties. There's also, under certain circumstances, the ability for our county to transfer authority back to the state for providing kind of minimum public health services. And we do have 2 counties who've done that, Curry and Wallowa. Go to the next slide. Okay, so then talking about kind of the responsibilities local public health authorities have. And go ahead, I apologize, we have a lot of slides. So, but these next 2 slides, and I won't go through and read this all for you, but there are very specific statutory responsibilities, of course, for a local public health authority. A couple of the ones maybe to highlight on here would be accepting reportable diseases, outbreaks, epidemic reports. I'm sure you're familiar with those pieces. And then also work, for example, on regulating, licensing food pool lodging and tourist attractions. So those are things that we've currently delegated that you all are performing. On the next slide is the rest of those statutory responsibilities. And highlighting here, one I know that's super important, there's a lot of work going on in Crook County, is the local modernization plan. And that final plan is due at the end of this year. And there's been a lot of great work on that. And then what's a governing body? So these next kind of slides, we want to make sure this kind of piece is clear too. So the local public health authority is the authority, and the governing body of that is the governing body of either the county, the public health district board, or the board that's formed in that intergovernmental agreement. And the governing body is really responsible for all that monitoring and oversight of those statutory responsibilities, right? So that's why we're here today, as you all are that governing body. Responsibilities of a governing body: appointing a qualified local public health administrator, which you all have done, adopting ordinances and rules as needed, civil penalties for public health law enforcement. That modernization plan I mentioned is one of the specific responsibilities, monitoring progress of the local public health authority and meeting statewide and local public health goals, and then also adopting schedule of fees for public health services. Next slide. And then there's also very specific requirements, again, in statute for a local public health administrator. So those responsibilities, that needs to be a physician, but it can be a physician, but that's not required. If it's not a physician, then a contracted health officer is required. And for you all, that's Dr. Natalie Good. It's a responsibility to appoint or employ the necessary staff to carry out all these statutory responsibilities. Provide the information concerning public health activities, submitting the annual budget to you all, the governing body, acting as an agent of OHA and enforcing those state public health laws, and then performing any other duty required by law. Okay. that was a lot of information, and I know I can talk quickly. So I want to pause just for a moment. Any questions or kind of follow-ups on the response?
This is curiosity, not that I
Yeah.
want this to happen, but when you're talking about Curry and Walla County and that they have turned that back over to the state, do you actually have public health departments that OHA mans, or what happens in that case? I mean, the citizens their needs aren't met, are they?
So under certain circumstances, authority can be transferred back to the state. That does not mean the state sets up local public health authority in those counties. So you're correct. They're going without in those ways. There's very minimum public health services that under that circumstance, the state is required to provide. So those minimum services are either required or contracted out. But as we look at all the different bodies of work and things you all are doing, those opportunities aren't available in those counties because they don't have that.
So would there not be anything for prenatal or any of that, or?
Correct. So
Okay,
yeah,
so all those
pieces like
programs
that,
would be
yeah,
lost.
are those things.
Okay, thank you. I know that's a dividing, but I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other pieces before we go into it? Okay. So next, we're going to talk about a couple of the different agreements that we have, and this is what we did our compliance review off of. So there's actually two different agreements that we have with you all. So there's the intergovernmental agreement for public health services. That's most of the funding that you all are receiving for public health, those programs you just mentioned. This is where we as the state are giving money to you all. Much of this money is passed through from the federal government. Some of it is state money as well, or from other funds or different programs. Then there's the environmental health intergovernmental agreement. In this agreement, you all are actually giving money to us. So we've delegated the authority to you all to do those food pool inspections, all those pieces, and then you remit a portion of those fees to us. So just two different agreements, and the money moves in different ways. The next slide. So the triennial review is what we do. It's based on these agreements. It's this compliance piece. It's our monitoring, our oversight every 3 years. All the local public health authorities, we come and do a review of all the different programs and pieces in those different intergovernmental agreements. There were 12 different areas reviewed, and we'll show those in a second on the next slide for you all, so you can kind of see the scope of that work. The review was for the years of 2021 to 2024. And then the actual reviews took place last summer, July through September. And then there's a closeout period if there's things that need to have actions taken to close out findings. And that's all been completed at this point, and that's why we're coming to you now, now that it's all closed out. And then just to emphasize, this is an opportunity to identify areas of improvement and strengths. This is truly a partnership. The state values working very much with our local public health authorities and our decentralized system. And we don't do it alone at the state. It's very much a local centric thing, and we really believe in that. So a big part of this review is identifying those strengths and opportunities for where we can work better together. Next slide. These are all the different programs that we reviewed and we'll be going through today. Administrative, our Babies First program, civil rights review, communicable disease, drinking water services, fiscal review, food pool lodging, health and safety, which is through the environmental IGA, the health officer, immunizations, our public health emergency preparedness and response, tuberculosis program, and then vital records. All right. And then there were several program strengths, and that's what we're going to get into first. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So areas of strength, starting with our administration, civil rights and health officer review, and several of the things I'll be sharing too are quotes from the actual reviewers who came from the state to do these sorts of reviews. But for example, Crook County Health Department's a respected leader in their community, a trusted resource of information for the public's health and safety. Really, they've been growing their workforce since the pandemic and brought on multiple staff. You can really see that over the course of the review. Strong support through regional work and at the state level. So there's a very strong partnership with both Jefferson and Deschutes County that you all have to really maximize within the region and support each other in public health work, and that really has shown through. And then, of course, the administrator, Katie Plum, is very active in participating at the state level as well as the regional level through the Conference of Local Health Officials, and she's a co-chair of one of the committees for that conference, so the Systems and Innovation. And that active participation really benefits the county. Again, we see that come through then in this report that we're doing. Babies First, the first program we'll talk about. So this is a voluntary program that provides nurse visits for OHP eligible pregnant women and families with babies and young children up to age 5, as well as those with high risk for medical and social risk factors. So here, again, dedicated staff is one of the key themes I think you'll see throughout this review. There's 2 nurse home visitors, and then there's an interim supervisor. During this review period, the program served over 40 clients with 191 visits, which is commendable work. There's a huge focus too on enrolling clients prenatally for healthy pregnancies and to really promote positive birth outcomes. So great work happening with this program. Next slide, our communicable disease program. Again, that theme really of collaboration and strong staff. You'll see it was named especially here the collaborative partnerships with the regional epidemiologist, neighboring counties, and environmental staff. The CD and environmental staff are really working closely together here, and as part of the regional modernization work that you all are doing as well. There's a really great focus on that communicable disease and understanding that diseases don't live within county lines. During this review period, there was 138 electronic laboratory reports processed, interviewed 46 cases of reportable disease, and then there was actually 1 outbreak investigation, which was worked on in collaboration with Deschutes County. So great work happening there as well. See, with the drinking water services program, the quote from the reviewer here was just that it's professional and hardworking environmental health specialist staff that are really leading this program. It was commendable, kind of the cooperative nature of the staff and really working with the state to ensure that there's safe drinking water in the active public water systems that are supervised. On the next slide, our fiscal review, it was noted by our reviewer, just really comprehensive and robust internal controls in place. Things are well organized, monitored, there's efficient operations. So really strong confidence there. With regards to immunization, again, amazing staff, persistent, helping make connections where they can. There's strong, I think a real strong support here to work with folks where they're at in terms of vaccines, being persistent, making connections within the community and with different partners here. A huge focus on vulnerable populations, including students and seniors, and moving into schools and long-term care facilities. And then they're also participating in the immunization quality improvement for providers' work, which is great. Go to the next slide. Our public health emergency preparedness. Again, really commendable here is the leadership within the public health department who are prioritizing this work and really supporting it. There's been some turnover in the position, but really the work hasn't stopped. And that's kind of one of the pieces that's commendable. Too, is there's really recognized need for this work to be continuing, and that's been great. Again, this is an area where Crook County Health Department is really strong in their regional partnerships and working with the state to ensure that they really are prepared and working with everyone. Then with tuberculosis, there were no TB cases during this review period, which is wonderful. And as hopefully, or as you all know, and hopefully that you haven't experienced, but TB is something that is still we need to be very prepared on and ready to go. So there were some new staff during this review period, and our reviewers were really impressed that they learned and they knew their stuff, even though they hadn't had to deal with the case, which is so critical. So appreciate that. Vital records, again, the staff here navigating complex vital records laws, rules, procedures. There's a lot here, and the Crook County staff does a great job with it. Staying up to date with changes. There were some changes implemented over this period, and they implemented those new requirements quickly and accurately. So that was noted. And then also was noted too that they really helped improve efficiency. They're scanning order forms and documentation, they're adding it into the electronic system, and they're helping kind of reduce the possibility of errors, and then also that kind of paper management file. So strong work there. Go ahead to the next slide. And I think we'll go then into some areas for improvement. So what we've done here is we've listed, and you've seen this all already in the report, hopefully. And I want to start off by saying too, these types of areas of improvement, very normal. Everyone has them. And again, it's part of why we do this and where we look to see where we can lean in and offer more support or where there might be a need. And then the other thing I want to start by saying too is that all of these findings are resolved. So like I said, they are all completed. Everything is done and the review has been closed out. That's not always the case with every county that there is such timely resolution on these things. So I also really want to commend you all for that. So on communicable disease, there were 3 findings. one specific to bloodborne pathogen exposures, and having that plan updated annually. So that is done. Assessing vaccination status, proportion of identified Hep B and Hep A contacts, that finding's been resolved. And then also ensuring that at least interviews are attempted for offices within 4 days. The next slide, fiscal findings. And these ones very much process related. So again, on the fiscal side, that's one of the things that, not that there's ever good or bad findings, but in terms of findings, it's just making sure the documentation is there that's accurately reflecting the good work that's happening. These findings were all related to ensuring that there were processes documented in place that were clear and able to be found to indicate that these things were taking place in line. And then the other fiscal finding pieces specific to property management policy to ensure that one was up to date with the standard, as well as another written process on expenses for reimbursement. So again, documentation pieces on the work that's happening, not the work itself. Food, pool, lodging, health and safety. A couple of findings here, ensuring that the facilities are receiving a minimum of 1 completed inspection every 6 months. Inspection reports filled out completely and including all information. And then finally, the recheck inspections, ensuring those are done timely. Again, all those were closed out just within a few months of the review. So again, those were satisfied. Okay. And then I want to end with sharing some information about the public health modernization that you all are doing. So the work plan for this has been submitted. And then the next plan is due at the end of this year, but just the work plan itself is very clear, it's thorough, it's ambitious. One of the things I was reflecting, I was reading it again yesterday, is again that strong regional partnership and that strong sense of the county really identifying and knowing what the county needs, where they want to focus, and how they're going to work with their partners to accomplish that. So really appreciated that. The strong commitment to collaboration and partnerships, again, that's the theme here. Your administrator, Katie Plum, is amazing. She's a strong champion for this work. She gives a lot of her time to helping to improve, working with other counties, participating, like we said, on the CLO boards. And again, I think Crook County really benefits the most from that because she brings back all those different perspectives, ideas, and we see them reflected here. The staff really, a smaller county also just really juggling multiple roles. We really appreciate that the county here is dedicating staff specifically to this work. And as you're familiar with our IGAs, I know you are. I mean, this is the bulk of the state money that's coming to you all is through this modernization piece for you all to invest where you see fit. So we appreciate seeing that staff investment. And then again, I can't say enough about the regional model that you all have and the partnerships with Jefferson and Deschutes. It's really a standout model. The regional work plan is very well thought out, put together, and it really benefits the area and the people who live here. So appreciate that. That was all I had prepared. So pausing for any questions, discussion, or follow-up you have.
I want to make a comment. So yesterday I was reading both your presentation and then the other document that was submitted. And it just amazed me, Katie, how much paperwork or computer work or whatever we want to call it, that you must have went through in resolving all of this and tracing the property. And so kudos to all of you that worked on this and got this done, and the entire health department. You did a lot. There's a lot of work reflected there in not very many words. So thank you.
Yeah, good job. Thank you.
Yeah, great job. Appreciate it, Katie, staff, and everyone to go through that process. Liz, great presentation. Appreciate the update.
Don't worry, we'll be back in a couple of years.
Okay. So we need to get some more paper to get ready for it, or more computer keyboard. Thank you very much, though, for coming and presenting this. That was very good of you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate the time again.
Okay, next item, Crook County Fair Board Policy. Susan again.
Well, I'm not sure why I get to be the presenter today, but I think that maybe Brian, who devised this, should come up and talk about we're trying to get compliance in our public meetings, and Brian came up with 3 options, so maybe you can talk through the process.
Sure. So Brian Lible, Assistant County Counsel. So what you have in front of you is a policy which implements the Board of Commissioners Order 2022-52, if I remember correctly, which outlines how to fill vacancies on boards, commissions, and committees. And so the Fair Board came up with a policy on how they would like to fill vacancies. And so it is, the Fair Board is recommending that the Board of Commissioners approve or concur with that policy.
And I'm just gonna add to that. So basically at the Fair Board, they were presented with three options. Option one was the one that they picked, which is that a subcommittee will be chosen to interview Fair Board candidates. And now you correct me if I'm wrong. They will meet with the candidates separately. They will take their own notes. They will not discuss the candidate amongst each other. At the next Fair Board meeting, they will get together and each of those committee members can present their findings and their opinions for the benefit of the entire board to make a recommendation.
So Commissioner, one thing, so all that's correct. The one thing I would change is the characterization that it was a subcommittee or advisory committee. It is appointing three individuals from the Fair Board to individually interview the applicants. And so there's no discussion among those appointed members. So I wouldn't call it a subcommittee because it's just three individuals separately interviewing the applicants and then returning to a public meeting. Those three Fair Board members would then discuss with the entire board, bringing back their knowledge and opinions and observations from those three from the various applicants to the Fair Board, and then the Fair Board would then make their selection/recommendation.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Casey, do you want to add anything or at all?
Well, he just covered it pretty much. I think some of the catalyst of this is the Fair Board didn't believe they were getting candid answers in some of their interviews because it was in a public meeting.
And that was what we were trying to do, is stay tolerant of the new public meetings laws, but also not to embarrass or stifle someone, because it was very difficult having the candidates all in the room together and you have one person who gets the question. And then by the time the third person gets the question, they figured it out after hearing the first couple guys. So I think this is a good way to keep the process the way it should be and the way state ethics call us to do that, but also to make it fair to the candidates and also make it more comfortable, I think, also to the candidates. Well, I would like to make a motion to pass the Crook County Board of Commissioners Order number 2022-52, which will establish a consistent, transparent process for filling vacancies on the Crook County Fair Board in accordance with Crook County Board of Commissioners. And I just said the order.
Second. Motion been made second to approve order number 22-52. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Herrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Thank you,
Hello.
Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
For everything you do for the fairgrounds.
Thank you. Can I just interrupt 1 second? I want to make
Yeah.
an introduction. This is Parker Gale. She's started on Monday. She's the new administrative assistant. My other assistant is, life is happening with her and she's going to move on and raise a family. So
Welcome. Yeah, we
Great.
welcome you, Parker. I got to meet Parker
Welcome.
at a meeting, but welcome again.
Pleased
Yes,
to
thank
meet
you
you.
so much.
thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, I'm not presenting unless I'm really young.
You can't.
This is Jamie.
Or do you want me to introduce it or do you want to introduce it?
Go for it.
Okay. Hello, Commissioners, Jamie Berger, Budget Manager for Cook County. And similar to what you just heard, the Budget Committee also has a vacancy to fill. And so referencing that same order 2022-52, we are curious if there should be potentially a different process for filling the vacancy on the budget committee. So we were in front of you a year ago with the same question. And just kind of as a recap, order 2022-52 says that all the members of a committee would meet to review applicants, potentially do interviews, and then discuss those applicants in a public meeting, and then make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. So the reason we're asking if that should be the same process for our budget committee is because the budget committee is comprised of the 3 members of the commissioners as well as 3 citizen members. And so does it make sense for every time we fill a vacancy that the entire budget committee, including the commissioners, would meet to make a recommendation to the commissioners? And so just curious if there should be a different process. If a year ago, I don't know, Will, if you want to jump in, but a year ago we had a subcommittee that the commissioners approved, and it was the citizen members plus a staff member to be a part of it, and not have the commissioners be a part of that meeting. And then that subcommittee of the citizen members made the recommendation.
I'm kind of in favor of the interview process being done with the county manager. Whoever, approaches and wants that position, and let him go through that, and then let him, address the county commissioners on people that are available and things, and might have a meeting.
Ask a clarifying question. Are you kind of referring to what we did last year where I was appointed as kind of a 3rd member of the subcommittee comprised of the county manager and the 2 citizen members of the budget committee? There was a public meeting to decide on a recommendation, and then I brought the recommendation back to the board for final appointment. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
So yeah, as Jamie described, that's what we did last year. That's certainly an option this year. We do that, we are modifying that order 22-52 to 2022-52, but we can modify that in different ways. So if you want to stick with last year's process for this year, we can certainly do that. We can also have a member of the board be appointed to that subcommittee for the purpose of making a recommendation. I'm more than happy to serve in that capacity. I would, and I think this is kind of how Jamie started. Committee. But if we could get some direction today in terms of the appointment for the vacancy.
Yeah, I think we should go forward with what we did last year, but then have you spend all the time and put together what the long-term plan is.
Yeah. And I agree, Will. I know you don't have enough jobs, so I think that adding this job would be job security for you.
I appreciate you looking out for me.
Do we need to make a motion, or do we need to make a direction that we are going to, I make a motion that we will proceed as to temporary, as to the way we formed the committee, the budget committee last year, with the recommendation that we go ahead and write a long-term order for whatever.
Appointing budget members to our budget committee.
Yes.
Yeah, was that your motion?
That was my motion, and Seth helped,
Was it
but I
dual
just pretend I said what he said, so there we go. So if you second it, then we're good,
Second,
okay,
including my addition.
including your addition.
I'm not gonna repeat what the motion was.
No, it was a long.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No,
All in favor, say aye.
Crawford, aye.
Cromer guy.
Barney, aye. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Hey, Will, next funding request, contribution floodplain protection.
Yeah, good morning again. This is a follow-up to a conversation we had at work session last week. Commissioner Crawford brought up the opportunity to contribute to the Oregonians for floodplain protection to help support their litigation efforts to hopefully resolve some of the concerns we have about that BIOP. I appreciate the opportunity I took last week to look into how we can, where the funds should come from for that. And after having conversations with Christina Aaron, the finance director, and John Eisler, the community development director, my recommendation is that we use the community support fund for purposes of making that contribution. The good news is out of the $100,000 that you have in the community support fund, my understanding is you've only spent about $25,000 through this fiscal year, and I think we should be about 4 months into the fiscal year, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of how much we've spent to date. So I think there's plenty of funding there in that fund to make that contribution, and I also believe it's probably the best selection given the general benefit to the county to use that fund. But I wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to have a conversation about that and follow up and give you guys an opportunity to ask me any questions about that recommendation. Otherwise, we can proceed with using.
Now, I kind of like the hybrid thing to make John pay 2,500 and we pay 2,500. So you don't feel that's the planning nexus there? That isn't good.
I don't, Commissioner, no.
Oh darn! I want to hang on for 2,500 more money.
I was kind of in favor of that too.
I kind of agree also, Susie, because I think it gives the planning department the opportunity to stand up and show the citizens that they're really pushing back against.
Okay, so I'm not so
No,
frugal
they're not
after
crazy.
all. All righty. I do like that hybrid thing. Is that workable, Christina, or no?
That, we're gonna have some conversations with John about what that looks like budget wise for him. This would be something that was not budgeted, and they did budget really tightly this year. So, and then I'm kind of struggling to see why planning would be responsible for a piece of it. I wasn't at the meeting last week, I apologize. But it's ultimately of your decision.
I like use that word tightly. She was helping you out on that.
Yeah, Director John Eisler, Community Development Director. Just for my 2 cents, this is not money that goes to directly fund litigation. This is money that goes to fund a social welfare organization and their membership or an annual membership. The tie to what we do and the tie to our revenue is not. There's not the nexus there, in my opinion. We are only funded with planning application and building permit and on-site fees. We get no dollars from the general fund. We did budget very tightly because we have been trying to balance our budget since the boom from the data centers, and we haven't been able to do that. And so we are pinching every penny we can. And while this may be a noble endeavor, I don't see the tie to what our office is currently doing and what our current task is. And so you guys are free to do what you want, but my strong opinion is that this should not come out of our budget.
Thank you for coming forward, stating your position. Understandable. Kind of agree with you. Just kind of came out of left field as well.
Yeah, I'm not super passionate about it. I mean, I think it would be good to be part of it through our planning department, but if it's easier, and I think it's a good.
And I understand.
And I think
there's no.
I'm sorry,
nexus.
and I'll interrupt this organization has litigation on this BIOP that's been, I think litigation was filed at the beginning of 2025. Litigation was stayed in May of this year. They've been in settlement negotiations since then. So as far as the legal work, it could be almost done or wrapping up. There's not, the lawsuit could be done any day now, and that would be happening whether or not we gave them $5,000 to the 501c3.
Are there other counties that are giving to this fund?
All
You know
across the state.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I think it's a serious situation that's happening, and I think our folks need some help and protection on that to make sure that things go the right way.
So I would make a motion to use 5,000 from the community fund for, to support this organization.
I'll second the motion.
Those have been made, seconded, any further discussion?
No,
All in favor, say aye.
Herman guy.
Crawford, I.
Barney, aye. Amendment to order 2025-18, Will.
Good morning again, commissioners. You have in your packet an amendment to order 2025-18. This order was adopted in June of this year, formally adopting our fiscal year 26 budget, making appropriations and imposing categorizing taxes. After adoption, staff identified a clerical error in the section describing Title III funds. Specifically, the original order mistakenly labeled one appropriation line as contingency, and it should have been labeled capital outlay. Nothing else changes in the original order. The amendment is issued retroactive to July 1, 2025, so that the record reflects what was intended in its adoption. There's no fiscal impact. No change in any fund totals, appropriations, or tax rates. This correction only ensures that the budget document and all related financial records accurately reflect the county's intended appropriations. And so with that background, my recommendation is that the board approve that amendment so that it correctly reflects what we intended. Jamie, do you have anything else?
Do we need a public hearing for that?
I do not. No, I do not believe so. This doesn't change. Doesn't modify any dollar amounts. It's just a clerical correction. So I don't believe we need a public hearing on this.
I make a motion to accept the amendment to order 2025-18, which is a correction of a Scrivener's error on the order adopting the Crook County budget for fiscal year 2026, beginning July 1st, 2025.
Second.
Both been made, second. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Herman guy.
Crawford, I.
Barney, aye. So move. Next one, amendment to order 2025-18. Nope, that's just the one we did. We're supplemental budget hearing. Now we go in here. Christina?
Good morning, Commissioner Christina Heron, Finance Director. So this one does require a public hearing. This is Resolution 2025-36 for adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2025 to 26. The supplemental budget, I'm happy to read through if you'd like to, but the gist of it is we are appropriating the carryover fund balance from the Title III fund, which is Fund 313 from fiscal year 25. We anticipated the Title III projects to be finished as of the end of June, but due to some timing issues and the timing on those projects, they were not completed. So we will roll those funds over to finish spending them in fiscal year 26. And then the other fund that we are doing the adjustment on is to appropriate funds for Fund 687.
Lost the internet.
Go ahead.
For Cook County for fiscal year 2025-26. This hearing has been properly noticed in accordance with Oregon local budget law. The purpose of this hearing is to consider adjustments to the county's budget to accept additional revenue, authorize transfers, and to make related appropriation charge changes within county funds. Now, at this time, I will call Finance Director Christina Heron to present the staff report.
Sounds good.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I can do it again. So this is resolution 2025-36 to adopt a supplemental budget for fiscal year 26. The changes will be to our Title III fund, Fund 313, and we will be appropriating carryover funds from the end of fiscal year 25. Due to some delays in the projects, they were not finished as anticipated at the end of the year. So we need to carry those funds forward to be able to finish those projects this year. And then the second fund is our foreclosure and county lands funds, Fund 687. And that is to appropriate dollars to be able to use them on the foreclosed county owned lands from money we collected in the past. So happy to answer any questions, and I can read the thing in its entirety if you'd like.
I just was wondering what projects, just for the public, on Title III that we're carrying over for.
That's a good question. So we have two projects. The first one is the mobile incident command post for the sheriff's office. That is the large bus project that will allow them to respond on major events on public lands and have a kind of a command post there to replace what we currently had that was failing. And then we were lucky enough to have the shell of that bus donated to the county. So it's upfitting that bus for that project. And the second one is a search and rescue pickup that we are upfitting for search and rescue as well, for the use on public lands in SAR missions. And I also have Lieutenant Mitch Madden if you have questions specific to those projects.
Hopefully we get that bus done sometime soon.
I agree. Yeah, those are really important projects. I know search and rescue spends a lot of time helping a lot of people. So any resources we can give them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did already have the funds for it authorized under Title III. We just anticipated the projects finishing at the end of June, and they weren't finished due to some delays and some supply chain issues. So we're just rolling those funds forward so we can finish spending them on area approved projects.
Thanks, Christina.
Is there any public comments?
This isn't what you're here for, Dick?
I don't think he can.
Do you hear me, Dick? Is this what you're here for?
So if there aren't any questions, then I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-36, adopting a supplemental budget for Crook County for fiscal year.
I move that the Crook County Court adopt resolution 2025-36, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for Crook County for fiscal year 2025-2026 to accept additional revenue, authorize appropriation transfers, and adjust expenditure appropriations as presented.
Second.
Those have been made in second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Herman guy.
Robert, aye.
We'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. John. Another hearing, ordinance 355.
And this is the second one.
Yes.
Again, for the record, John Nicer, Community Development Director. Before we get into it, I got to thank you for your reconsideration on item number 11. That means a lot to our department. But yeah, I think, Brian, there's a script in front of you. If you want to get started, this is the second public hearing.
Okay. The Crook County Board of Commissioners convenes today, Wednesday, November the 5th, 2025 at 11:09. Pardon?
Clock's off.
Clock's up, it's actually 10:08.
Oh,
Oh, you're right.
Sorry. Yeah.
10:08.
I
Thank you.
really flew, so I'm glad to see it is just 10.
To conduct a second of two scheduled public hearings on ordinance 355. The ordinance amending Crook County zoning map to adopt a zone change for MTL 16141100001200. Land use application number 217-25-00025-PLNG. The applicant proposes to amend the Crook County zone map to rezone approximately 20 acres from exclusive farm use zone EFU 3 Pal Butte area to rural residential R10. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
I second it.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Herman, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye. So moved. Ordinance 355, an ordinance amending the Crook County zoning map to adopt a zone change for MTL 1614110001200 and declaring an emergency. Today, the Board of County Commissioners will be considering a recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve the zone map amendment. A complete copy of the recommendation is available on the county's website or from the Planning Department. The Board of County Commissioners may elect to uphold, modify, or reverse the Planning Commission recommendation. This is the second of 2 hearings the board will hold. This hearing will be a de novo, which means like new, normal quasi-judicial land use procedure will apply. For reference, the applicable approval criteria are as follows. Crook County Code, Title 18, Chapter 18.12, Establishment of Zones Boundaries. Section 18.12.020, Location of Zones, list zones established in Crook County. Section 18.12.030, Zoning Map. Map is amended by authority of the Planning Commission. Title 18, Chapter 18.92, Rural Residential Zone R10, describes zone requirements. Title 18, Chapter 18.170, Quasi-Judicial Amendments. Section 18.170.010, Quasi-Judicial Amendment Standards. Title 18, Chapter 18.172, Administrative Provisions. Section 18.172.010, Quasi-Judicial Hearing Authority. Section 18.172.010, Application. Section 18.172.010, Notice of Public Hearing. Crook County Comprehensive Plan, Crook County Ordinance 127, Amendment 1. This hearing will be conducted pursuant to Crook County's Code Chapter 18.170 and 18.172. Ex parte communication, conflicts of interest. At this time, I will poll the board regarding conflicts of interest and ex parte communications, including personal knowledge, bias, prejudgment, or personal interest. Does any have an ex parte communications or conflicts of interest to disclose?
Herman, no.
Crawford, no.
Already know. Does anyone in the audience or on the phone or computer wish to challenge the participation of any member of this board regarding conflicts of interest, ex parte communications, or prejudgment of this matter? If you are online and you wish to submit a challenge, please comment in the chat box your request to speak so that staff can unmute you. Is there anyone in the room? None in the room? Online?
No.
None online. Hearing procedure. During the hearing, testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards applicable approval standards and criteria or other standards and criteria in the Crook County Land Use Regulations or Comprehensive Plan that the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with sufficient detail to give the hearing authority and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. The record is open and will remain open until at the soonest the close of the second hearing. If a party wishes to request that the hearing remain open or the second hearing be continued, it may make such a request in accordance with Crook County Code 18.172.081. The decision of the Board of County Commissioners may be appealed in accordance with ORS 197 and OAR 661. If you are in person and intend to testify on the limited issue, please make sure to fill out a testimony slip found at the entrance of the meeting room. If you are online and wish to testify, please comment in the chat box whether you intend to do so in favor of or in opposition to the application. We will then call on you to testify at the appropriate time. If you have written testimony that you'd like to submit, please hand it to one of our staff members. All persons testifying must be recognized by the board. Please speak clearly and state your name and address for the record. If you are speaking on behalf of someone else or a group, please state who you are representing. The order of testimony will be as follows. We will hear from the staff first. We will then take testimony from any federal, state, or local agency. We will hear from the applicant. And then anyone in favor or who is neutral to the ordinance will then be heard. Then we will hear from those in opposition. We will then conclude with any final words from staff. Does anyone in the audience or on the phone, computer have any questions about the process today? If you are online, please type your question in the chat box. Anyone in here have online?
Nothing online.
Seeing, then we'll move on. At this time, we'll begin the public hearing. From staff first, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Barney. Appreciate that. So what you have before you is a quasi-judicial zone map amendment, which means that it is primarily for a single parcel or a single landowner instead of the legislative zone map amendment. These are, as you said in your script, these are prepared by the authority of the Planning Commission, but they get approved via ordinance. And so then we come here and we have to do the two public hearings through the normal ordinance process. The County Court Board of Commissioners has the authority here to approve or modify the amendment prepared by the Planning Commission. This is the second of two public hearings. The Planning Commission heard this on October 8th and approved it. This was heard by you guys on October 15th. This is for a 20-acre parcel up in Palo Butte that is part of the Palo Butte study that was done in 2000 that changed our comprehensive plan. But as Senior Planner Katie McDonald and the applicant's agent Craig Kilpatrick informed you guys last time, the zone map change was left to the individual property owners. And so we had a handful that did it originally, and then we've had a series that have come and done it since then. We are, I think, almost out of eligible properties, but this is one of the ones we have before you. It's like I said, it's a 20-acre parcel up in Palo Butte. The area has been determined to be irrevocably committed away from agriculture. I don't know if we have the applicant or their agent on the phone this time. That kind of happens sometimes on these. Yes, but it's pretty simple procedure at this point.
Questions?
I have no questions. Thank you, John.
Yeah,
No, I think you've
Thanks,
explained
John.
it really well at the work session and then our last meeting, and so, yeah.
That wasn't me, that was Katie and then Mr. Kilpatrick.
You,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Community Development Department, the
Thank you.
royal you.
Take the win, John.
I'll take it.
All right, moving along, we will now take testimony from any federal, state, or local agencies. See any present, any online? See any?
Nope.
Hear from the applicant? I don't think they were online. Is there anyone in here in favor or who is neutral to the application? Is there anyone in here online that is in opposition?
None online.
Okay, and so there is no rebuttal? Okay, close the motion.
It's your turn for a motion.
No, I thought you did the last one. I make a motion to approve ordinance 33355, a zone map amendment.
I will second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor, say aye.
Howard, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye. So moved.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Okay. Managers report.
I think we got one more before we move
Oh,
on.
we do.
What is public comment before?
No, it's,
The only item I have for my manager's report this morning is, I'd like to have a quick conversation about the regular board meeting schedule. Because of the AOC conference, in 2 weeks, the next regular board meeting, has been delayed 1 week, so it will happen the Wednesday, I believe it's November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. We had a quick conversation about this at the last department head meeting. No department heads are anticipating anything that must happen on November 26th. So I just wanted to have a quick conversation with the board to see if we should announce today that that will be canceled, or if you'd prefer to keep it on the calendar in case something comes up. But at this point, we're not anticipating having agenda items, and given that Wednesday is a popular travel day, it will probably be a light agenda either way. So I just want to have a quick conversation about that. And if we do cancel it, we can notice that on our website and make the announcement here this morning.
Well, I'm not sure. We're just having a meeting for having a meeting if there's nothing to discuss, so.
I agree with you.
yeah, I agree. There was one thing that, Brian and I were gonna do, but it's not time sensitive, so. We can definitely do it. First meeting in December.
Okay.
And the next regular session would be December 3rd, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that far on.
It's just a week.
So if you'd send out notice, that would be great.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? No? Commissioners update?
I got a couple things. I want to thank Brianna and Cheryl for spending so much time at the candy crawl. We had a lot of people come through, and it was a lot of fun. We went through virtually all of the candy we bought, so I'm glad we didn't skimp.
Yeah, one bag left.
Oh, but we had enough though.
Yeah,
Perfect. Oh, that's good to know.
yeah.
Perfect.
But we had a lot of fun, so we had kids there helping and kids coming and getting candy, and it was just, I think it was really positive. I think we should continue to do that, because I think there was a lot of positive interaction with the community and getting to see people we probably don't see on a regular basis.
Perfect.
Great. You looked well.
Yeah.
Had a nice costume.
What was
Cheryl,
your
she had a
costume?
I was a Frankenstein's monster football player,
I see.
because Landon was a cheerleader,
So you.
so I had to be part of her deal. But then I
Okay.
was able to put my own little color on it.
Okay.
The other one is,
Oh my, you were scary.
yeah.
He was great,
Yeah.
especially when he walked up to you and he's up here and you're growling.
We had a conversation with Best Care at our last meeting, and I think we had some really good constructive criticism. And from what I heard about what happened at the city council meeting, not a lot of that was heard, and that's very frustrating to me. And I think we need to continue to have conversations with them, because I'm very, very concerned about it being across the street. I'm very, very concerned about it not having any kind of supervision. And I think there's a lot of different aspects of it that we need to continue to push back on, about not, how many times can they get in trouble with the police? And I heard people talk today about concerns about that those aren't the people that they're helping. Well, that's great. Then we should have those barriers in place to make sure that we don't end up with a place that has unfettered homelessness and helping them continue to make bad decisions. So I'm all for helping people, but I think when you're in services like that, you need to have barriers to make sure that you're not allowing people to just stay there. And I think there's a few things that they were positive on, but I think there was a few ones that they were pretty fuzzy on that I'd really like to make sure that we don't, through our connections with Best Care, don't continue to, or we continue to push back on some of those things, especially being across the street and not being supervised. Those are my two biggest concerns, but I think there's other concerns.
So what was the vote last night on city council?
I heard it was 3-4 to move forward with the project in its current location.
So it was refused?
No,
No,
it
so
was
4
approved.
was, okay, so
And-
the
and
4
in-
was positive.
Yeah, and in their defense, I think there was not a lot of legal ability to change that. But I think we can have conversations with the organization about what we as partners would like to see.
And I think one of the good things is now Melissa, who's in charge, is gonna start coming monthly to our meetings. And so we need to keep tight on that so that we can constantly keep a price, not just even just with that, but with the sober living and just everything. So I do agree that we need to have a lot more information.
And we should see what we could do for finding alternative ideas.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think they've been presented with.
I've had
alternative ideas.
conversations about alternative ideas, and I think we brought up some really good alternative ideas at our work session. And that's what's frustrating to me, that I don't think we were out of line in the things we requested, and from what I've heard, that was not communicated by them to the city council.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, all right. Public comment.
Okay. We figure we have a few publics out here.
Yes. I'm Julie Thompson, Great Valley Road in Primeville. I guess my first comment isn't even about the water situation. It's about what you guys were just talking about, and I was kind of awestruck that 30% of our county is on SNAP, and it seems like a very large amount. And then we have the homeless and the.
So I saw, I've been in New York, just got back this morning, actually, 5 minutes before the meeting, and they had a map on the news. And I was very surprised at the states most affected by SNAP. And on the West Coast, all the West Coast is bare, but Oregon is a very big one, and that SNAP is having a profound effect on just this state. And then you get down in kind of your Louisiana, kind of down in there.
Right.
So I found that, I've never seen that map before. I found that very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I'm sure some of it has, cost of living here has gone way up. But it would be good if the county or state or, could find a better solution to that, more of a work to earn kind of program maybe, or something, or some kind of work or industry that these people could work to produce something, or, to earn. So.
And that's kind of
Very
the
vague
basis,
statement, but-
20 hours of a job,
Right.
20 hours volunteering, or 20 hours spent in pursuing like education or something. So that is what the new guidelines are, but, and I do agree with the lady that spoke earlier. There are gonna be people that fall through the cracks, particularly mental health,
Right,
but
right.
I don't know what you do about that.
Right. As an employer, it's probably a little harder to consider those mental health people as prospective employees. So it's too bad we can't find a different way to employ them or something for them to earn.
Well,
part of the
and I
community.
think from my understanding, from what Susie presented at the last meeting, they will take care of those people. It's the people, the able-bodied people that
Right.
don't have mental issues,
Right.
that are on SNAP,
Right,
that are continuing to get food,
right,
that are the ones that, and I feel like a lot of times different people in our country blur that line, and I think that line needs to be very well written, because I think if you're able-bodied and you're on SNAP,
hmm
you need to be putting your
Should be a time limit to be on
you should
that.
be working as a part of the community
Right.
in one of those three ways.
Right.
I don't see any reason, if you're able-bodied and able-minded,
Right.
that you shouldn't be able to be part of our,
Right. Seems like
society
there's
and-
plenty of job openings. So.
yeah, a lot of work to do.
Okay, now to the water.
Oh, I thought that
Let's
was
get
it.
to the
That-
real,
yeah.
let's
Yeah,
get to
you
the real
used it up.
subject, okay?
Okay. So I had asked a question a few weeks ago about the flocculants in the settling ponds. And I know the answer was that Knife River doesn't use them. And then I asked, do we believe them or do we test that to make sure they are not using them? Because some of the issues that we have with the water could, if you Google this, these are the symptoms that come with these chemicals that are used in flocculants. And I have never received an answer on that. So I didn't know if you guys had heard anything on that or knew anything different. No, okay.
I think you have a state representative here
Yeah.
who would be very best
Yeah.
probably to answer those questions.
Yeah.
So commissioners,
You're gonna have to come to the mic and say
You
your
gotta
name.
say
I know
who
it's
you
a
are.
pain.
Sorry, Greg, we put you on the spot.
hi, good morning, commissioners. Greg Sweeland, Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. We've received over the last couple of months, and Dogami as well, you've been copied on some of these questions. We've received about 25 questions or so. And all of those questions have been kind of post sampling plan approval, been drafted by Dogami, and they'll go out either probably tomorrow. Kind of the big batch of questions. Then we're going to post this on our website just to have a running total of all the questions that we've been asked about this site. Other people probably have the same questions. That is the idea with this. It will probably be ready tomorrow, Friday at the latest, but that is one of the questions. In terms of flocculants, I'm confident they're not using flocculants, and that's why they weren't tested in the domestic well sampling.
But we're not actually testing the water.
Correct.
Okay. And I did file a couple of compliance reports with Lewis, and I have not gotten any responses except for that still investigating, and one of them was the middle of September. So I don't know if my next step is to go visit with Lewis, or who do I try to, find out how to get a quicker answer, what is the process to figure out what is actually going on, what are they investigating?
Well, I think maybe John can speak to that.
Don't go too far, Greg.
Sit right here. What was the September complaint?
It was that they, according to the CUP number 26, they're not supposed to import fill into the ponds. And they are taking the fines from the ponds or whatever the fines, or I can't remember what it's called, but the stuff out of the settling ponds, but it all came from Stafford to mine site. Because that's what they washed all year.
You're referring to conditional approval 26 that said that the mining ponds had to be with fill from on site, right?
Right.
Okay. I check in on the current status of that one. I know the other one you filed, I think last week, was about parking. We got a response on that, and so he's working on that. They were in the car waiting for dispatch calls.
I see, and
So he's the last one.
If the CUP says you're not allowed to park there, it doesn't say you're not allowed to park there unless you're waiting for dispatch. So how long do we just let them park there and be in the way?
They're in the vehicles. They're on the side of the road. Parking is
They're
usually
standing in
into.
the road, like to be, and cars are coming and going.
I think Lewis is, like I said, he's still on that one, but I think we should. The water issue seems like a lot bigger concern for us. So that's.
Well, I think we should be concerned about all of them. I think it's good, but I think we need to be
Right.
able to give a definitive answer. If we don't believe it is, then why don't we?
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna get with Lewis and see what the final determination on that one is, but I know the thing was that they were, the complaint was that they were parking, the response back from Knife River was that the drivers were pulled off on the side of the road.
And just, I didn't get a
Get all
picture of
dispatch.
this, but when we drove by, they're not waiting for dispatch. They are welding on their wash plant while their trucks are parked out there. I had no way to get a picture of that, but you could plainly see they have the trucks in there and they're welding.
And yeah, definitely
So,
follow up with Lewis, follow with me.
I just think that if you can't follow little rules, why do you follow big rules? That's my point to this, to try to, and I get it, it's sort of petty in a sense, but it's still a rule.
It's not petty. It's in the
No.
CUP. The CUP says you will not do that. We agreed to it. I don't care what they're doing on the side of the road. Yeah, any truck can park on the side of the road. The CUP says something and that they need to be compliant, because I'm gonna talk about stuff that they need to be compliant with on these permits, and nobody's doing anything about it. We file things, we do things, nothing happens. And I'm not blaming you guys or whatever, but something needs to get done, because this just happens and they're blatantly doing it. I gotta say, the
It's-
GBR down the street is working on Sundays. They were told not to do that or they're gonna get fined. Guess what? Sunday they're working down there again. Apparently something's not working.
Right.
Kind of a microphone on
Sorry.
that. We did file, so that one is a complicated one. As soon as we found that out, we did file, I wrote a letter to them directly, and there was a fine involved with that, but it was to Crook Creek, but apparently that was not the operator on that, because they went through an easement over the property. There are two separate aggregate operations going there, but we did have to sit down meeting with them, got the facts on that, and then we followed up now with what was operating on Sundays. I gotta check with Lewis and the status of that, but with this black and white clear violation, rest assured, we are doing things immediately and moving forward and using the full extent of our powers.
But I won't talk about it again. What is the fine? Just out of curiosity, what's the amount?
You gotta wait.
You gotta wait till you come up and say your name, but I do want to
We
agree
don't
with.
need to have this back and forth communications. You go ahead and finish your
Yeah,
conversation.
and I do want to agree with you, Julie. They're on an industrial lot where the wash plant is. They should have made an accommodation for the amount of trucks to park.
Right.
And if they can't park, they shouldn't have been dispatched there. They should be
Waiting somewhere else.
somewhere else, yes. So I do agree with her comment, and I do feel that that is not right, because that is part of the CUP.
And it's not a very wide road.
No, and it's really bad because you have a long truck and you have someone coming this way and someone,
Someone pulling out at the
Yes.
intersection and two trucks parked here and you're
Yes.
trying to turn and.
but it doesn't matter. They have an industrial place and they should be making accommodations for that.
Right.
Well, if they're waiting, they need to wait in their truck maybe, you know, there
But
should
they
be,
need
there
to
should
pull
be
their
some
trucks
kind of
into the
a.
mine site or
Yes,
onto the property.
they should pull
not on
into
the
the
road.
industrial zoned area because that parking of a truck would be properly permitted there.
Right. I guess I have so many questions, so I'm sorry about this.
That's okay.
So, the letter that was written, by John, which was great, says, you know, that what the county planning commission believed they were approving. No groundwater would be used, no neighboring wells would be impacted, you know, these different questions. So if you actually read through some of these different, you know, the application says they're using Ochoco irrigation water. They're using that water. The CUP says they're using Ochoco irrigation water. The Dogami permit says irrigation water or from a stream or future wells. So I guess one of my first questions is does the county have the Dogami permit when they're writing the CUP? No.
In the process, typically you get the CUP, you get local land use approval, then you get the Dogami permit.
Okay. So that is something that Dogami added in later as that we're gonna drill 7 wells or whatever the number of wells is. So it just seems odd that, you know, we don't think it's going to impact neighboring wells and we don't think it's going to mess with the water, but we're gonna add wells and we're gonna use all the water around it. And the Dogami permit also states in it that there are streams, wetlands, irrigation water, all these different things within 1,500 feet of the mine site.
Well, how about OWRD approving that and it was supposed to be a drought?
Right,
I mean, let's
yes,
push that out on 2 agencies right there. And that
Right.
was addressed in my office when I talked to the 2 people from OWRD.
so it just, I mean, it just seems like there's so many negative things or maybe not negative, but things around the site that should have probably kept it from happening to begin with. But they're still not following the rules. They're not, you know, if we're only using irrigation water according to the CUP, which is what it says, but we know they're pumping from wells, why can we pull their CUP, which would stop them from using the wells because they couldn't be operating? Sure.
Julie, on that issue, I have the same feelings as you do.
Right.
Our office, there's a LUX form, a land use compatibility form, and when they applied for that well, the county signed off on the LUX saying that the land use was approved for the well.
That seems interesting if they can pump 500 gallons of water per minute, but it's not supposed to affect surrounding wells in the same aquifer. Wait.
The county's portion on Lux is a land use approval for this, so they don't look at all that. That's up to the state agency that examines whether or not to approve that.
So they get approved by the county and then the state?
They just say, hey, is local land use approval, do you guys have local land use, does the applicant have local land use approval to do this kind of activity? And so for us, it's a short sign off.
And then who approves it in the state? What agency, do you know?
I assume that one either went to DEQ or Oregon Water Resources.
And then also, even the Dogami permit says that they will not be backfilling into water. They are backfilling into water. And because of John's letter, the definition of a mine pond states that it is anything basically excavated with water in it. It doesn't say it has to be a settling pond of any sort. So how do we point all this out further to make this stop? Because there are more people that are having issues again with their water now that they've started operating again. Do you have any advice or any words that you could offer or ideas of how to pull the CUP?
I think John answered you. Our land use is very limited. And you have 3 state agencies, excuse me, Greg, but you have DEQ, you have Dogami, and you have OWRD that I feel have basically failed in their examinations.
So in the letter response back from Dogami, it basically says that, in short, to me, the way I understand it is that the Dogami permit is one thing and the CUP is another thing, and the county basically can do what they need to do with the CUP, and if they're not following it, you pull it. So is Dogami wrong, or how do we?
That's a John question again.
That's not my interpretation of the letter. The letter was very helpful and very significant to get Dogami's interpretation of these important terms. I am waiting for a chance to consult with our legal counsel on the impacts and the opportunities that are available from that letter and with county leadership. I think I got the letter, was it Monday of this week, or? We have not had a time to have those discussions yet with county leadership to determine which steps to go from there. The gears take time.
Right.
48 hours is not enough time for that to happen yet, but as soon as I got the letter,
right,
the next thing I did was write an email to the council.
I guess the reason why I took it that way is because in the last paragraph, it says no portion of the Dogami permit or permit conditions prohibits Crook County from enforcing the land use condition of approval. I feel like we should have 2 microphones.
Or anytime, Julie, you can come to my office and I'll talk to you as much as you want to talk so we can get answers like this. That specific language was in response to the question where there are 2 separate conditions of approval. One saying that the mines would be reclaimed concurrently with operations, and the following one said that all mining would be subject to Dogami's reclamation plan. And so my question in there was how to interpret these 2 provisions together. They seem incongruous. It seems like the second one trumps the first. And Dogami's answer there was no. We don't view it that way. So that is a door opening and something I need to discuss with county leadership.
Okay, last thing I think I have is that, we've been trying to get EPA involved, and probably because of the government shutdown, we are just our head against a wall right now. But in 3 different documents, it states that is not a ditch or a slough. It is a tributary of the Crooked River or the stream. So all of that water flows to the Crooked River. So hopefully we can make some progress with that and maybe get water samples of that creek also, or stream, or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know how else to move forward with that, I guess. So.
I want to support, I read that letter that came on Monday, and I want to support John's. I think there's a lot of questions in there that we need an interpretation of. And so I look forward to him working with legal counsel, and I think that letter brought up a lot of good questions.
Right. So will the county ask for legal advice to move forward with pulling the CUP on this? because they're not following rules? Or are we just still saying we can't do it because we've been advised not to?
I mean, I think we were clear from the beginning that if you brought or something else came to light that changed, which it sounds like this does change John's opinion of our ability, we will continue to pursue anything that we can. So yeah, I'm happy to pursue. When new information comes up, pursue the same people that we talk to and see if that changes their opinion at all.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie. Adam?
I'll save mine for the end. I got a couple of things, but it has nothing to do with the water. Well, it has something to do with the water, but it also has a couple of questions from earlier stuff.
Okay, great.
Good morning, Karen Mikulski at Stehanza Lane.
You need to speak into that mic. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Is it better? Is it on?
Yeah, it has a green
You
one.
gotta really put it,
Yeah.
if you,
You gotta be a rock star, you know, put it right up there.
All right,
Like you're
Karen
a band.
Mikulski on Stehanza Lane. I just wanted something to let you know, and so it's on the record. On October 31st, I observed Knife River, one of their large dump trucks going along their haul road. We have that open cell across the street from us. And whatever they were hauling, I assumed that it was the crap from the settling ponds. They were emptying the settling ponds, which is the second time they've done it this fall. But as they were going around that haul road, they were dumping all that stuff out on the haul road. So then they have a little opening right across from us on the other side of that berm that runs along Stehanza, and I could hear them dumping in there. So I don't know if they're still supposed to be doing that, because when I was looking at this, in the response, it says here, the mine cell that was incorporated into the groundwater investigation sampling analysis plan should be considered an exception to allow for at least 1 year of sampling data to be collected under the SAP to address concerns regarding potential impacts to the groundwater. So my question is, maybe John can answer this for me. That cell that's across the street from us, is this the one that they're referring to? Do you know? Okay. So they're saying that it's supposed to be like preserved and left intact for the SAP, but yet Knife River continues to dump in there. So I'm just here to say that they're still dumping in it, and I don't know if they're supposed to be, but for the record, they are.
Greg, can you speak to that?
Not really, Commissioner. Dogami, I can tell you, is aware of this specific complaint and has looked at the management of materials. That is also a long response, and the answers that will come out probably tomorrow or Friday. I just don't want to overspeak, because this is really talking about what's allowable with the Dogami operating permit, and I'm going to get out of my skis really quick. So I can tell you that that specific response is answered in depth in the letter. They're aware of the activities, and that's probably all I should say at the moment.
So to be continued.
It's really a Dogami question on some of these finer points about what's allowed with different types of material on different parts of the property and when and where. So yeah.
I know that Knife River has, when this came up with conversation with them, they don't recognize that that is no longer a mining cell, because they think they backfilled it a little bit, therefore it's no longer a mining cell. So maybe that will be addressed in that letter, hopefully. Well, I was going to ask you about that. In your letter, you were talking about it being a mining pond, but when I talked to Knife River, when Lewis and I went along and looked at the trees that were dead and needing to get replaced, which was a CUP item. Matt Roth said, well, we don't consider it a mining cell anymore because we backfilled it up a little bit. So when you were talking about the mining pond, is that the one, same issue?
Yeah, so I think the difference is those open cells, if they're standing water,
Yeah.
industry terms that a mining pond. And then as the fill gets put in and it goes above the standing water level, then it turns into the cell, mining cell. So I think that's maybe what he was trying to say. So that's my current understanding.
Yeah, Ross' next comment to me was, well, we're in reclamation at this point. Whatever, but they haven't done that. The other thing has been discussed a little bit, but this is another site that I've noticed. Starting I think it was on, well, Lewis Hills met with that mine over, if you look at Elliott Lane and Sunset Road, you picture that intersection? Directly across is the mine that I've called in complaints before about them working like at 5:30 in the morning. Well, they started working on weekends and Sundays, almost all day, and processing. And I can hear them and I can see the loaders. So I thought, that just doesn't seem right. So I went over and filmed it. And then I reached out to Lewis saying, before I file a CUP complaint, is there a CUP for this aggregate? And I do have a video if you need it. So I don't know who met with them, if it was John or who met with them, but they worked twice. And then you guys did meet with them. Okay. And they were told that, in that conversation, I was told that they could work on Saturdays from 7 to 6, but no work was supposed to be done on Sunday. So they were informed. I'll be dang it, the very next Sunday, they worked, and I filmed them again. And I did reach back out to Lewis saying, you know what, they worked again. So I know that they're going to be fined, but I don't know what kind of fine. Like Adam says, if they were to say you can't work every day that you work on Sunday, there's another day that you can't work. That would get their attention. But if they just slap them with like a $500 fine, they'll just think it's just part of their operating expense, So I didn't know what kind of fine they were gonna be given. Do we know that at this time?
I think I mentioned this before. There are separate enforcement procedures that are in our aggregate code in chapter 18-144. That language has a maximum fine of $500 per violation with several mitigating factors. If the operator wants to challenge the letter that I write and the fine that I impose, they can come before the planning commission to have a full hearing where the burden's on the county. Everything about that language is something that I intend to update with our Goal 5 comprehensive plan update, which is a gigantic undertaking, which we have applied for a DLCD grant to help get that started. To answer your question specifically for the operating on Sundays, the fine that I want to impose is $200.
Wow.
There are a lot more factors to think about with that and my discretion to come up with that number than there is just for that $200 is not going to prevent them from ever doing that again. Come meet in my office, I can explain to you my thought process. I think it makes sense. Any operators that have had to go through and had 3 violations during the course of their conditional use permit, if they have 3 violations that have been proven and established via payment of the fine, we can then revoke their permit. We have many options with basically 3 strikes and you're out. And so this is a provision that has not been used by the county, I don't think, since I got into this role. And it's something we're using as soon as we find there's a black and white violation, we are imposing it. This is not the first one we've imposed it on since I've been here. We're going to keep doing it. If these operators, like I said, if they step out of line 3 times, we have a lot of resources to do what we need to do. And so this was the first strike. That dollar value is set at an amount where it incentivizes them to pay the fine instead of coming before the planning commission and having a separate hearing that costs a lot of staff resources, a lot of time, and a lot of money, where the burden's on the county where we might not win. And so in my discretion, so the dollar value $200.
Okay. Thanks, John. So You met with them, so I don't have their CUP, so I can't do like an actual CUP violation. So can that be the last, all that documentation I did video, can that be part of the 3 strikes you're out?
So the documentation you have is for the first strike. And so it wouldn't help for the further strikes. As far as the CUP goes, as I've gone through our records, when we put that code language in place, the idea was, I think the process that we started applying back then was, we have these standard operating procedure conditions in our code. You guys have seen that in 18144. It's got the hours, it's got the blasting, and so the idea was to keep the CUPs light. We have this code to lean back on for their operating requirements. And so that's the way they were written. So there aren't going to be a lot of conditions of approval in those old aggregate operation CUPs because they were leaning on our code at the time.
Okay, so for the record, I'll just keep watching and listening and I'll videotape and then I'll get a hold of Lewis, and that's what I should do, right? Okay,
For me.
yes, okay,
Document every law. So I'm documenting.
I will. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Perfili, are you gonna talk?
You guys.
Good.
Good. Dick Zimmerly, I live on Grimes Road. Just a couple of things to, I support what Sue, or what Julie and everybody, the same problems, the same complaints. Specifically, a couple of things having to do with the settling ponds being on EFU land and the validity of that as part of the CUP. Is that a legal use of that land? And I think there's a question about that. And to reiterate again, the reclamation piece of the puzzle has not been done. And so how many years does that go on? Another 20 years, you guys won't be in your positions, neither will I. And so when does that ground ever get reclaimed? Because the topsoil is all still in the berms. And so when does that, I mean, Dogami, there's a difference between the county and Dogami on, those are 2 separate issues on the near expansion or the Woodward site. When does the Woodward site get reclaimed? After they get through mining the entire county? You know, I mean, I think the county has some authority to do something here. It goes clear back to the very beginning when Ed Fitch wrote a letter and outlining if there's discrepancies or malfeasance on the part of Knife River, the county has the authority to step up and at a minimum suspend the permit until it's figured out. I think Dogami's letter back to John that we all have read supports that. That was pretty easy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't call her or anything.
We did well.
Yes.
Adam Polsky, Stancic Lane. I don't seem to have a problem hearing Karen at home. She's quiet with you guys, but that's just a joke.
We need a little humor.
So, sorry about the outburst earlier because I think I just sometimes lose my patience on some of these things. And I think I go back to the CUP when you have a legal document or whatever, it's not getting followed. There's everybody's got excuses, but black and white, what it says is what it says. And I really appreciate John doing all the work, and we could probably be with him and maybe get some more information, because of the lack of information that we have, we come to some kind of an assumption because it's our reality. So we'll be calling you, John. But kind of going back to during this hearing, you had the Oregon Health Department here,
OHA, yeah.
OHA, and then we have a county OHA, and they talk about water. And I know what they're talking about, the quality of water. They're talking about maybe public water systems, not private. But what would be their role in the water problems out in the county that aren't public, or the issues that we have? Are they serving some kind of role in that?
So you have been gone, but I met with the problem solver for OHA. And so we had a meeting and Will was present on that meeting. And John, were you present on that Zoom? And it was Oregon Department of Human Services and OHA. And my thing was, I don't care who's at fault. Well, I'm just not even gonna go there. What can you do for the people who have this water? And basically, it was a lot of this. And I agree with you very much, because let's just take out the blame and let's just try to get good water for you to drink. Because you guys aren't drinking this water, but how do we know that someone down the road is? And is that harming them and whatever? But basically, it was a lot of talk and a lot of excuses, and there wasn't any practicality or anything that could be done. I'm sorry, I expected more.
So I talked to him separately, and I brought up the idea of maybe them looking at when a well goes dry, they come in and help fund fixing that situation. How is this any different? And she's gonna get back to me with the answers to that, because I think it's the exact same thing. There may be water in the well, but if it's not drinkable, then how is that any different than a dry well? And if they're there helping people with dry wells, maybe they can use some of the.
But what their answer is domestic water wells, if they're not in this public system, are basically the citizen's responsibility. That's basically what it comes back to.
But they do have programs to help.
I agree, and
domestic
then they
water
also
wells.
have programs where they put a tank on your property and haul you water.
Yeah.
But again, none of that applied here. And again, I was trying to get the blame part out and just try to find a cure. And unfortunately, there was a lot of excuses. I'm sorry to say, Adam.
Well, I appreciate you asking.
Gotta try something. What
I
do you
don't-
think? You keep going around and around, you figure you gotta come up with a different one. But I totally agree with Seth. They have programs for this and they have programs for that, but now then they tell you domestic well is on you.
Right,
How does that work?
right. And I'll probably have more questions for John, talking about what Dick mentioned about the settling ponds. And then I did read the letter, the way I read it, it says that it's on the EFU land. The CUP says processing will only happen on the industrial land. And then their answer from Dogami basically says that's part of the processing of that. So I think that's gonna be something they even advised getting together with the county to figure out where they're gonna go with this and then for future. So I'll be talking with John on that, but I appreciate that his letter did come out to us. And then we got to read that and see what the answers are, but there looks like there's gonna be more to come, so.
Looks like, as according to Greg, tomorrow or the next day, we should have hopefully maybe more answers. I'm hoping.
And probably a
No
good idea.
excuses this time.
You probably
Yeah.
cancel the next meeting in 2 weeks, because we'd probably be pretty hot by then after reading.
Have some Thanksgiving turkey, because it doesn't have that chemical
Yeah.
that calms you.
Right, right.
Well, make sure you have turkey before you come. How's that?
So I got another comment, because we were talking about mental health, and I appreciate what Seth, was talking about some of the questions out there, and whatever, but just want to bring this forward, and this was brought forward to me the other day, and I didn't even know about it, but all the people were moving in here, and I'm gonna use the word, you don't know who's here, who's your neighbor, who's around you, but have you guys heard about the cattle mutilations in Powell Butte? There've been 3 incidences, and they're basically the 3 the same. And
Yeah.
actually, a person I know actually happened to them, and that's how I found out. I was talking with them the other day.
They haven't just been in Bellevue. You guys just don't know about them.
They're all over the
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I hate to say, I'd like to say that, but they haven't just been in Bellevue.
So I go back to when we talked about, when you have a lot of economic development, you change a lot of things, you get people coming in and all this stuff, guess what's coming with it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I know.
And mental health is increasing in the state of Oregon drastically. And that's a sad thing to say, but that's the truth.
And Julie, I think, had a great idea, what she was talking about is like getting people to work, get them to. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of background that we don't even know, and there's a lot of work that needs to get done on that, and I appreciate you guys doing that. And anyway, I think I forgot what I was really gonna talk about in the water, but I'm gonna leave it at that, because I think I took up my time, but thanks, everybody, and John.
Well, and I think it's also important to understand that the state has just decimated the state hospital, which is where a lot of these people need to be. If you're so far gone that you can't live in a home, you need to be taking medication and you need to be getting services and different things, and the state has just brutally reduced the amount of beds in state hospitals, and then they go, well, I don't know why there's a problem. I mean, it's just, but again, it's just fighting quicksand there.
And you got out of New York City just in time.
Well, I don't know, when I was sitting on the tarmac in Portland last night at midnight, I was wondering, but yeah, in fact, when I went, there was a massive storm. And I was supposed to leave from Seattle at 11 before noon. And we couldn't leave till 5:30 because they couldn't land planes at JFK because of that storm. So I was hoping when I came back this way, I'd be okay. And then, of course, Redmond had dense fog, but I got here. That's all that matters.
I think he's more talking about the socialism.
Oh,
That.
Suburb. You mean the free public transit and free rent and all that that guy's.
You
gonna
should have got a
get?
free ticket and fly back home.
Maybe I'll ask next time.
All right.
In the grocery stores.
Yeah, free food.
Everything free.
Anyone else wish to comment?
Okay.
Anybody online? Well, hearing none, seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
My computer
Aye.
Barney, aye.
died. Aye. Oh, Hermit guy, sorry. You can't do anything more because the computer's dead.